Good evening. I will now call the Infrastructure and Community Investment Committee meeting to order. It is May 14th at 6:01 p.m. This meeting is being held in person and electronically in accordance with the Municipal Act. I'm going to skip over the consent items because there's actually a couple of amendments today, so we'll go right into open delegations. We have one open delegation to be received this evening. The open delegation is by Adrian Caraballo, the Executive Director of Carnival Barrie, seeking financial support and direction for the 2025 Carnival Barrie event scheduled for August 30th and August 31st, 2025. I would now like to call upon Adrian to come to the podium. Hi. In accordance with the city's procedural bylaw, a maximum of 5 minutes is permitted to speak.
Good evening, Chair Hamilton and members of the committee. My name is Adrian Carballo. I am the founder of Carnival Barrie. We are the Latin Festival scheduled for this Labor Day weekend at Will Dwyer Park. I presented it to council last year, offering a humble story of our inaugural success. The idea was I wanted to present Latin culture as a token of honor to all those who had immigrated to Canada and have decided to make Barrie their home. Since that council meeting, we have found our footing. We turned it up in our second year. We grew by close to 100%. We moved our stage to the opposite side of the park, making room for 60% more vendors, which forced us to triple our seating area. We even turned in our basketball courts into a soccer tournament. But not till 3 months after the festival, when we received a $1,000 community sponsorship, did we step out of the red and into the black, breaking even by less than $100. So through a collaboration with Tourism Barrie, we utilized the Environics Analytics Mobile Scapes program and conducted an economic impact study. This equipped us with the data needed to benchmark the event and measure its true impact. This included detailed insights into attendance and visitor demographics, which was a major milestone for us, and we believe we exceeded all expectations. Copies of the report were included in the presentation. I thought the video would play, but there is a video on the attachment that you guys have on your links there. We are proud to say that we were in our second year. We have been recognized by Festival and Events Ontario as a top 100 event. This positions us with the success of other prominent Barrie events like Winterfest, Air Show, and the New Year's Eve Party. As we planned for year 3, reviewing feedback, meeting with the team, we completed a true assessment of the event. We began to see some opportunities, set some targets, and we evolved into our new festival theme, which was making Barrie home. So we listened to a lot of the families, and we jumped at the opportunity to sign a partnership with Moonwalk Entertainment to provide the largest kids zone for the event space. And we also recognized the need for a shuttle service from Park Place and Georgian Mall to address the obvious parking obstacles of a waterfront festival. This year, Carnival Barrie has clear targets and revenue goals, and through this strategic planning, we have assigned a vendor coordinator, enabling our team to focus more on operational efficiencies and sponsorship opportunities. We aim to increase the festival by 25%. If only to maintain last year's experience, we will require significant improvements to our stage, audio, security, and waste management. One of the comments were that we should probably provide some floodlighting because it gets dark around 8 p.m. and we had guests enjoying the festival to around 11 p.m. on both nights. Focusing on sponsorships, I'm proud to say that the Making Barrie Home theme has worked, and we are proud to name La Una Local 183 on Saunders Road as our presented by sponsor. This is our largest sponsor ever. La Una 183, it's a labor union that represents construction workers across the region, and they are proud supporters of Carnival Barrie now. Their involvement then aligns seamlessly with our 2025 theme of Making Barrie home, and we changed our strategy to support talent recruitment, which is in alignment with the La Una. So we started to invite people to experience the vibrancy of our community, and we are now encouraging them to consider Barrie as a place to live, work, and thrive. As part of this vision, we have begun to formalize a plan of how to communicate our Making Barrie home message and how we can highlight this to the business community and show value by supporting Barrie by offering a tool for talent recruitment. Our approach aligns closely with ongoing efforts by Invest Barrie, RVH, Downtown BIA, as well as local housing initiatives and with the builders and industry associations. Recognizing these shared goals, we see it as our responsibility to support the community and what we know how to do, which is throw a big party. Turn this into and help and attract new residents and workforce to accept Barrie, maybe some new Canadians from Latin countries, why not? All these elements have inspired and empowered our creative direction. We are now focused on designing a tented activation space And this is with the support from Tourism Barrie. We are serving as an interactive hub for all our guests that are interested in learning more about making Barrie home. This space will allow us to connect directly with attendees and share the opportunities and benefits of living and working in Barrie. But all this creative excitement brought light to a daunting elephant in the room, which is sustainability. And in all of our discussions, if the idea were larger than the budget could allow, we would tag it as "we'll do it again next year." For context, we had conversations with the Guinness Book of World Records. We were looking at saying maybe break a culinary experience record. We explored a 400 drone light show as a closing act with the Spirit Catcher as a backdrop. Heck, our long-term goal is to move from Will Dwyer Park to South Shore Park so we can fit 25,000 people on the waterfront. Even with all this imagination, sustainability is still our largest threat, and that needs to be solved. Over the last 2.5 years, this event has been 100% volunteer, and the burden of any financial shortfalls were mine and mine alone to bear. Unfortunately, this is no longer sustainable. So I am in search of a partner because I believe if we can subsidize the operational and logistics costs through this partnership, making room for vendor revenues to absorb the administration burdens like wages, marketing, and advertising.
I'm sorry, Adrian, your time has had come up for 5 minutes. I apologize. I know I don't like doing this, but we've got a full agenda. So
I have
if
like
you
a
have any
sentence.
final, go ahead.
I am presenting our humble event to convince this committee that Carnival Barrie is a required event for the city, and I'm asking for an investment of $50,000. To secure the successful 2025, sustain our plans for 2026 and beyond. I can elaborate more on any elements that you may have questions on, but I am grateful to this community. How can I help you?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And thank you for sticking to the time. I am going to open it up. I will say I attended the festival last year. It was absolutely fantastic. The vibe, the energy, the culture, the diversity of people. It was truly a pleasure to be there. So job well done. But I will open it up to see if there's any questions from members of the committee. Mayor Nettle.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation, and I've certainly enjoyed my time coming out with you, and it was a big audience and lots of people having tons of fun. The vibe's amazing, so I think I have nothing but positive things to say. My question, I guess, is to our team at City Hall here. We had a request last year, I think, at this committee for Kempenfest. And that request was, I believe, initially $75,000, and I believe we agreed to a lower amount of in kind. Do we remember what that ended up being? And I should have given a heads up on this question. I apologize, Stephanie. We've talked 5 times today, and I never asked this.
Through you, Chair Hamilton, to Mayor Nuttall. I don't have the specifics in front of me, so I'm going to give you high level what I remember. The staff and Rec and Culture through special events continue to support the event in the way they do, and I believe there was some in-kind value attributed to that. I don't have the number off the top of my head. And then in addition to that, I believe there was some support provided to support transit over the course of Kempenfest, and that came from, I believe the funding source was the MAT to do that. And then, of course, there was some fiscal support that went to do the consultant and the study. So I think those were the 3 funding areas or support areas.
And that's kind of what I had remembered was we had put some dollars behind figuring out what the value and who was attending Kempenfest so that we could, look at contributions in the future, helping with the transportation costs, and then there was some in-kind staff as well as other supports that were put in place. So we've been, as a council, fairly resistant to just providing cash to festivals in the city. That doesn't mean there's not a huge amount of value of what you do, but we have tried to keep it where we'll help provide the in-kind side where it makes sense, but not provide the cash. And I really want to, reinforce that it actually doesn't matter who comes forward and asks for dollars. The city is the easy one to ask. And it doesn't mean there's not humongous value in what you're asking for, because I think there is. But if we open the door for one entity, it ends up being that we've got to go right across the board. And I'll give you an example specifically, was the Persian community has asked for similar investments. They had a smaller event, and certainly successful in their own right, but a smaller event. And the answer was, no, we can't be the ones who do that. So I guess my question is not really for you, but for us as a committee, is how are we going to handle these things? If we say yes, how is it that we handle these things? What are the determinants of yeses or nos? What fits a cultural event versus not a cultural event? And where's the budget going to come from? If we said yes to $50,000 here, I think we're actually probably saying yes to a $500,000 or $1 million fund a year to supplement these types of festivals on the waterfront. And that I think is the bigger question that we as a team need to figure out if it's a yes. The final piece, and we said this to Kempenfest, we're actually saying this to our own staff. So please don't think that we're just projecting this outwardly, we're projecting it inwardly as well, is we invested as a community, I'm guessing $7 million in Meridian Place, which has a natural stage now. It's not natural, it's concrete, but it has a stage. And is there an opportunity to save dollars by looking at a location of Heritage Park and Meridian Place versus Bill Dwyer Park, or all of the activities now, because you had a huge success with like the soccer and the family stuff. Is it so focused on that now that you think that it needs to be where it is?
I don't know the formal stuff, so through you and all that stuff, but through you to you. The concept for why it's at Will Dwyer Park was just for the efficiency of raising funds. So we're 100% privately funded based on the revenue that we incur is what we end up spending back and forth. I had conversations first year with Craig at Downtown BIA. He was a sponsor of us last year because we were talking about getting people engaging the downtown to bring people over to Will Dwyer. We're in talks this year because I want to do something at the Open Air Dunlop in July to kind of do a cross promotion where we fill the stage and then also try to provide some kind of coupon book fundraiser opportunity to bring people down to the festival. So we have been always trying to get it to the downtown. When I've done the calculation of the downtown stage, I wouldn't be able to structure the vendor pathing and all the stuff to create revenue back to sustain the festival, because the stage is too small one way and it'd be a backstage, but then if I cut the backstage and the stage was just positioned central versus edge, where I can put length to it, which is where the South Shore idea comes of getting a lot of length, and you get a lot of vendors and you get a lot of monetizing of the space for the stage, right? So yeah, for sure, I could throw a huge party there, but I wouldn't be able to pay for it because I wouldn't have vendors for it. It would be.
Thank you. Yep, no, that was excellent. I think it answered it very well. Thank you. I will ask if there's any other questions from members of the committee. Councillor Rietman.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. And I must say, it was a great event last year when I was there, and the vibe was great, and had a really good time.
We lost a lot on the Sunday. We got winded out. Like we had tents in the water. We had like people were half blown out, and everyone came together and anchored in and helped out, and we were up and open, and it was an amazing event. It was really cool. Yeah,
it was really cool. And I'm just wondering, and I agree with the mayor. When we have you and Kempenfest and many other organizations that need support, would love to have support, and as a city, we really benefit from having the things that you do. So I'm just wondering if we shouldn't have this group have a chat with our staff, particularly Ms. Schlichter, and see if we can work out something that works and that is consistent with how we've handled other applications as well.
Apologies. Thank you. I don't know if there was a question in there for staff or just redirected to the committee members.
Yeah, it wasn't really a question, but I'm just wondering whether that's an avenue here to kind of, to make a decision.
Yeah, I think we're all probably feeling the same way, and I'll allow others to speak in, but I fully support what Mayor Nuttall has said and Councillor Rim as well. I think you can see around the table, a number of us were there, participated then, fully supportive, understand the benefit it adds to, and the value that it adds to the city. I think where we're a bit perplexed is we've got a number of requests all the times, and where do you draw the line, and what are the requirements that would, meet funding versus not meet funding? What are the funding limits? So I do think there's a conversation, but I'm still kind of struggling with where does the money come from at the end of the day. So yes, I will pause there. I just want to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak who wants to speak. So are there any other questions or comments from members of committee, or any other questions or comments from members not on the committee? Councillor Corser.
Thank you, through you, Chair Hamilton, to our guest. Have you reached out to any commercial businesses, private businesses for sponsorship?
Yeah, so I have a conglomerate of leads right now. We're working with, part of the Making Barrie Home idea was to have a local builder, so we're either talking with Pratt or Bradley Homes. We've talked to 400 Chrysler, Mini Georgian on the automotive side. We've talked to Napoleon, major supplier of employment. Again, home services. We have plumbers, electricians, we have lawyers. We have almost 300 different calls to different sponsors, which is part of the vendor coordinator, where we've kind of have the low-hanging fruit of the vendors that are returning. We have 80% return of the people coming back because they've been successful and they're happy with the way it was managed. So we have a good vendor profile coming back so we can focus on the sponsorship side. LaUna was a massive one, was a big pickup for us, right? Emergency services to cover for stuff, different industries. We even have representation through different, the embassies in Travel Mexico, Travel Argentina. We're working with different embassies. To give you a concept, the $50,000 would probably be representative of 25% of our budget. It's not, we're gonna do it with or without, but next year, it's with or without, and it just keeps capping the growth concept of it and what we really want to. Being so volunteer, the energy of year 1 to year 2 to year 3, it's already taxing. Like, we've had to change our volunteer coordinators. We're changing. Some people are not returning. People have less time for it. I want to take a vacation this Labor Day. Like, it just is compounding if I don't have the monetizing part of it. So that's where the challenge comes in.
Thank you. Are there any final questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Hamilton. Just a quick comment. This is very similar. Last term, we created the Recreation Sport Community Grant. And for the very reason, we would have people come forward who were in the community recreation sport realm asking for funds to support something that was really purposeful, meaningful, and beneficial to the city. And we had no mechanism for doing that, for deciding who got money, who didn't. So I do think the presentation tonight really does create an opportunity for us to consider our events like this, culture events like this that add value to the city, something that we should have a planful approach to and an application process so that people have this in a clear and transparent way to receive funds, and it's done in an organized fashion. So I think that's really the conversation that's been touched on by Mayor Nuttall and obviously Councilor Reed, but that's where we should be going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know we've had this conversation before around this table, and obviously it didn't go anywhere, because I think, Councillor Harris, I've heard you say that exact commentary last time. So I'm going to actually a question for the clerk. We're not going to have an answer today. We've heard the delegation. We appreciate you coming. I will just assure you as well, we also have the written component that came in, so we've all read the actual request, and we've got that. Just in terms of a go forward, what would be the process to ensure that this dialogue continues to happen with staff to look at opportunities for applications similar to what we do for sports, but for the culture and arts sector? Is there a way to do that, clerk, that we don't lose sight of this conversation and dialogue?
To you, Chair Hamilton, we could pass a motion to have staff investigate that and report back to probably the Finance and Responsible Governance Committee, since it's specific to grant funding. Or we can, outside of this meeting, work with the staff on an item for discussion that could go to executive committee for further discussion.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the committee members have any thoughts or strong feelings? Is anyone wanting to put a motion forward tonight, or we go ahead, Mayor Nuttall?
It's probably not going to be the popular answer, but I'm going to give my 2 cents on this anyway. You know, part of our struggles have been where to invest in arts and culture. We have the McLaren Arts Center. We don't have what I'll refer to as a fully functioning performing arts center. Our public art that we're doing is on a shoestring budget, right? I think there's a lot of things that we've talked about doing. I think we're trying to move forward with. And I think one of the things that I grapple with is the balance between capital investments and then supporting the growth of things from that kind of like micro level to bigger events, or in this case it's an event, but it could be anything. And so, we look to the culture plan as a whole, I think, to give that determinant. But the question that we need to answer is it our responsibility to provide the venues and hard spaces for the things to happen on, and then let the market, whether that's fundraising market or commercial market, take place? Or is it our responsibility to do that plus provide operating dollars? And, on this one, somebody would really have to come with a very, very refined way to receive dollars or to qualify for dollars for me to feel comfortable. When I look at the sports grants, it's just across the board. When I look at the arts grants, it's across the board. And so if you take those across the board, everyone equal all the time, and you apply it to like cultural celebrations, I don't know how many countries there are in the world. I don't know how many cultures in each of those countries there are, but there's a lot, right? And I would struggle, like I think Sunday I'm at a Ukrainian festival at Meridian Place. We have a very vibrant Filipino community in Barrie. Like there's just a lot. I know Councillor Corser and I have been to quite a number of Persian events together. And so I struggle with what we want to prioritize. And I feel like we've decided to prioritize getting the Performing Arts Center done and getting those hard spaces in place. It doesn't mean the never on the operating side, but I just feel, for me, I'm kind of feeling like I want to get the first piece done, which is get the physical things in place before we start doling out the dough in other directions.
Thank you for those comments. I think I'm going to wrap up the discussion because I think everyone's spoken at this point. I think you've instigated some good dialogue here at the very least, and I think this is good dialogue to have. I think tonight, whether we put this forward for an item to discussion can still happen. I think a number of us probably want to go back and think about it some more, because I don't disagree with Mayor Nuttall, but I don't want to just see this conversation go by the wayside either. So we do have opportunity as a council to bring forward items of discussion to the executive committee, which can be done. So allow us some time to do that. Again, tonight was just intent for us to hear your delegation, which we have done. There was no decisions tonight to be made. So we do appreciate your time, appreciate your passion, appreciate your presentation. And again, I do think this is a great dialogue for us to be continuing to have.
One final comment.
Very quickly.
Even match it. Like if I spend 10 grand, maybe give me 2 grand. If I spend 100 grand, I'm spending 150 grand to throw a party.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time. I appreciate the request as well. This is sometimes a hard chair to be in, but it is difficult when you've got a number of organizations, committees, events coming to us for money. So I get it, but I do think we can have a dialogue that continues here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move us on to agenda item number 3. We've got a couple of presentations tonight, 2 to be exact. The first presentation, item 3.1 on the agenda, is presentation concerning 2025 Asset Management Plan update. And I would now like to call upon Scott Dewitt, the Senior Asset Management Program Coordinator, to the podium to deliver the presentation. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm pleased to be here again to talk about asset management at the city and introduce you to our brand new 2025 citywide asset management plan. I'll start the presentation with a quick intro to asset management and why we do it. Then we'll dive into the new asset management plan, including the current state of the city's assets, some key highlights about levels of service, performance, and investment needs and risks. And finally, I'll briefly touch on what's next for the city's asset management program. So asset management is a system to enable organizations to balance costs, risks, and levels of service to bring the most value to our community. In corporate asset management, we work with the amazing teams across the city to develop a clear understanding of how to manage the city's assets to support sustainable service levels and council's strategic priorities. Of course, I wouldn't be a good asset manager if I didn't show these obligatory infrastructure failure photos. Municipalities everywhere are facing challenges with aging, deteriorated infrastructure, as well as pressures to grow and provide new and better services. However, each municipality is also unique, and our job is to understand Barrie's unique needs to empower staff and council to make informed decisions. I'm happy to say that this may be the last time I show you this slide. With the completion of this asset management plan, the city will have achieved compliance with the final initial milestone under the Ontario Asset Management Regulation, which requires municipalities to include proposed levels of service in their asset management plans by July 1 of 2025. After this, the city will move on to the ongoing implementation of the asset management program, as well as fulfilling the annual reporting and periodic update requirements in the regulation. This is the city's first asset management plan since 2011 that addresses all of the city's assets in one report. As I mentioned, it meets the 2025 requirements in the provincial asset management regulation by defining proposed levels of service and a plan to achieve them. This project relied on critical input from the teams across the corporation who are responsible for managing, building, and maintaining Barrie's assets, including almost 40 staff workshops to make sure we got the right information at each step. It wouldn't have been possible without the help of these dedicated employees who really care about their assets. Now let's dive into some results. Answering the first question of asset management, what do we own? Our current estimates are that the city owns over $11 billion worth of assets. Infrastructure and facilities make up the majority and represent over 95% of the city's assets by value. But all of the services are important for the community and represent substantial investments in assets. You may notice that we've added a new category here to capture the assets that make up the city-owned Barrie-Collingwood Railway with a value of about $86 million. Moving on to condition ratings, 87% of the city's assets are in fair or better condition. Council and staff should be proud of the work they're doing to take care of the city's infrastructure. However, with 87% of our assets doing well, that means that there is 13% or over $1 billion worth of assets, which will need attention sooner or later. This graph summarizes the condition by asset class, and in the chapters of the asset management plan, you'll find more detailed breakdowns of the assets within each class. You can see that some areas are doing better than others, and this highlights the need to stay diligent in monitoring our assets and planning proactively for timely and cost-efficient renewals. One of the items that stands out on this slide is that we must continue the work that is underway to renew the city's fleet of vehicles and equipment to ensure reliable and cost-efficient operations. And regarding the Barrie and Collingwood Railway, a large portion of the existing railway track is made of aging and outdated 80-pound rails. Through operations, the city ensures safe and reliable service, and the operations department has made substantial progress in updating the track in recent years. This work is planned to continue. You'll also notice on this slide that we lack condition data for some assets, and staff will continue to address data gaps on a priority basis. Some of the unknowns on this graph include parks assets, including trails, pathways, stairs, fences, and natural areas, and also a handful of facilities not included in prior condition assessment programs. And this gap will be closed through upcoming facility condition assessments. Through this project, we identified a total of 64 technical performance and level of service measures across all assets. These measures will be tracked and monitored to guide proactive planning to ensure we have adequate capacity as the city grows, that our assets are functionally fit for the services the community needs, and that they are reliable and maintained in a state of good repair. For each performance measure, we've forecasted the expected performance over the next 10 years based on currently planned budgets and programs. And we've also identified the recommended or proposed performance that the city should aim to achieve. When setting proposed performance, we worked with teams across the city to balance risks and service expectations with the need to be realistic and affordable. I won't have time today to go through all 64 measures, but I'll take you through a familiar example. This table shows a selection of condition-based performance measures for each area. In the columns to the right of the table, we show the current performance as well as the performance the city is expected to achieve by 2034 based on current budgets and plans. And finally, in the rightmost column, the proposed performance for 2034. As I mentioned, staff from all areas strove to set proposed performance that is realistic and affordable. Therefore, you'll notice that most of the proposed performance levels are equal to either the current performance or the expected performance. In some cases, the expected 2034 performance is already forecasted to result in substantial improvements, which highlights the great work the city is doing. In a few cases, however, investment will be needed to address current or forecasted deficiencies. Some of the challenges highlighted on this slide include that at current funding levels, our pavement condition is expected to decline by 4 points on average over the next 10 years. Roadside assets, including streetlights and poles, as well as retaining walls, parks assets, and water vertical facilities, which have had needs identified in recently completed condition assessments. For these new or expanded capital programs may be needed to address these challenges. Now, this slide summarizes the investment that would be needed to achieve the proposed performance from the previous slide and compares it to the currently planned investments. The city has made substantial strides to address investment backlogs over the years, and this has helped put the city in a good position to address future challenges. However, continued investment will be needed in order to achieve the proposed performance. The city's funding is not unlimited. In some cases, there may not be sufficient resources to deliver the proposed performance. In these cases, staff and council will need to focus on prioritizing the most critical needs and take a proactive approach to managing risks. In the asset management plan, we've developed an updated risk framework and calculated risk ratings for most assets. This information will be used by staff to prioritize new investments and to conduct detailed risk management planning for any remaining risks that can't be addressed through capital programs. This presentation shows just a slice of the citywide asset management plan. Throughout the 200 pages of the plan, we've highlighted key findings that apply to each asset class and to the city as a whole. I'd like to reiterate some of those key messages now. The city continues to strive to improve its infrastructure. With most assets in fair or better condition, we must continue to be diligent. Some risks require action, and others we have choices about. The asset management plan is a tool to help both staff and council make decisions and manage risks. The city is doing well to manage growth, with many key projects underway or planned to provide the services the community needs. However, work will be needed to make sure the city continues to provide sufficient outdoor recreation and natural spaces for our growing community. We must continue to strive for financial efficiency and continually refine capital programs to address the most critical needs with the resources we have. And of course, we must keep a long-term perspective to make sure the city can sustain high levels of service as the infrastructure developed in recent decades starts to age. With the 2025 regulatory milestone achieved, our work isn't finished. Asset management is a journey, and there is lots of work still to do to make sure we're providing the best tools to manage the city's $11 billion worth of assets in a responsible and efficient way. We will continue to strive to improve the city's asset management program while also providing regular updates and reporting in accordance with the provincial asset management regulation. Our goal is to continuously improve the information we provide to staff and council so you can continue to make Barrie an amazing place to live, work, and play. Thank you very much for your time. I'll be happy to take questions or comments.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Drouet. I will open it up to members of committee if anyone has any questions or comments. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Thanks for the presentation. And I think some of the decisions we've made around this table by increasing the designated fund 2%, and we're seeing over years of the compounding funds that we've been able to maintain and lessen the gap, really, but understanding that the gap is quite large. One thing that really stood out was 32% of our fleet is very poor, which translates to about 22 million, if my math's, somewhat right. Is it in a specific piece of equipment, like our snowplows old, or is it just across the board? And are we not designating enough money to keep in time, or is it just the changing of, it's hard to get vehicles, it's, there's a little bit of everything in there, but I was just curious.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Hamilton, to Councillor Thompson. Yes, it is a little bit across the board. We've had an underinvestment in the past, and we're currently working on catching up on that. Snowplows specifically, a number have been ordered and procured in recent years, and there's currently, I think, approximately a 2-year lead time from the day you order a snowplow to the day it's delivered. So we're catching up on that. Sorry, the other parts of your question. In general, we are catching up. The current capital plan will make substantial improvements over the 10-year period.
And maybe just to follow up, are we starting to get to the point where you're throwing good money to bad? Like, one is a capital investment, maintaining and repairing, 32% of your fleet becomes an operational cost, which, and maybe we need a report to council that, we constantly keep going, which is affecting, the tax levy, the operation, which takes from other stuff, and the capital investment into new, which would probably come with warranty and less maintenance. So I was just wondering if that is something where we're getting close to, becoming upside down, basically.
Through you, Chair Hamilton, to Deputy Mayor Thompson. Yes, you're exactly correct. That's a key concept in fleet asset management, is that it's an asset where very clearly maintenance and operations costs increase as the assets age. So one of the concepts we talked about when we brought forward the fleet asset management plan a couple of years ago was the idea of an optimal service life. The fleet strategy team has in the last year implemented a new fleet management software, which will help them to gain a much better understanding of what that optimal service life is, so that as maintenance costs start to rise for an individual vehicle, they can time the replacement of it so that we're kind of optimizing the total cost of service, or the optimal service life for those assets.
Thank you for that. I'll leave with a comment through, yourself and Ms. Oakley and the team and stuff. I've seen a large improvement in our assets and things, the tangibles that residents see. We're maintaining roads a lot better, quicker. We sometimes get emails, they paved this road 6 years, 7 years ago. Now they're, out putting seal and stress cracks and stuff like that. But it's actually preventative, and, we're maintaining roads a lot quicker, so we're not getting into base repairs, and it's just like, our resurfacing, shaving paves and stuff. So I appreciate that, and thank you for the work you guys do.
Any other questions or comments from members of committee? Councillor Negussi.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Thank you for the presentation. Just a point of clarity on slide 8, around 15 to 18% of the city facilities are listed as unknown. Can you clarify how this classification is possible for city facilities? I'm just wondering.
So the city has conducted facility conditions assessments in the past. For a number of reasons, they haven't been done for a few years now, and there's actually currently new ones planned. And so just through those, a number of facilities either weren't caught the first time, and also certain buildings and new assets within each facility get added over time. For example, at the environmental center at the landfill, there's a number of auxiliary buildings which have been constructed. So that's a gap that will just be closed over the next couple of years.
Okay, if I may, can I follow up? In the same slide, page number 8, the water report shows approximately under 5% risk that remains unknown. And how does this infrastructure affect our drinking water? You know, our drinking water is certified 100% pure, and I'm just wondering if there is any impact on that.
No, so in some cases, water mains specifically are assets we can't see, so we rely on the date of installation, the history of known water main breaks on those, and the material it's made of to do an estimate of the water main's condition. So in some case where we don't have age data, we will have an unknown there. However, it's important to remember the city has very robust operational programs to maintain the safety of drinking water in accordance with both the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act. So that, including thousands of samples a year to make sure that the drinking water is always safe.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions from members not on the committee? Councillor Corser.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Just wanted to say that I did some research for other municipalities, and actually the City of Barrie does really good, robust reporting, and like, congratulations, like it's quite compared to some other municipalities. Wow, good job. I do have a question about other municipalities had listed natural assets. And I guess on slide 6, let's say, the parks, outdoor recreation, and natural areas, does that encompass all of our natural assets?
Through your Chair Hamilton to Councillor Corser. Sort of. So we have captured natural areas, including natural heritage lands, woodlots, street trees, park trees, and some other smaller featured gores, lot frontages. We don't have the most robust monitoring of all of the natural areas. We've conducted, for example, forest health assessments on a number of woodlots where we considered a high priority risk for invasive species causing risks to those. But there's more work to be done on the natural asset side.
Thank you. I was going to actually follow up with what exactly are natural assets. So that's our forest and space. So with the question for, if I may, question on slide 8 for the parks, it's 50%. And I'm wondering, not to put any more pressure on our maintenance and forestry staff, I'm wondering if during the, what exactly would they be looking for? Those kind of invasive species, and what other things would they be looking for in the parks to make sure that they have that are unknown right now, and would because there's an extensive amount of work to be done for the ice storm cleanup. Not to put any more stress on our maintenance staff, but I'm wondering if they would be reviewing parks because they would be so ingrained or in depth in the parks doing those cleanups.
Through you, Chair Hamilton, to Councillor Corser, are you asking about data collection to close the unknowns there?
Yes, I guess I am. Yes, thank you.
I don't know if I would put that on them through ice storm cleanup, but it's certainly on our list of work to do to work with the parks operations team to prioritize and cost efficiently capture asset data to help prioritize what's important for them and make sure we're not letting anything fall behind.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you. I will say I was encouraged as well by the 87% of our assets being at least in good or fair condition. But in addition to what Councillor Thompson said, or Deputy Mayor Thompson said, I agree. I was concerned about the fleet. So I welcome the fact that this new software is being introduced and that we'll be looking at the optimal use. But I think my key takeaway here is really around the insights you shared for future investments needs, given that our reserves are constrained. So I think this council and future councils are definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. So I think these updates are fantastic. I agree, the data and the reporting that you guys do are great. So very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I will move us into the second presentation for this evening, 3.2 presentation concerning a salt management update. I would now like to call upon Katie Thompson, the risk management official, and Craig Morton, senior manager of operations road and fleet, to deliver the presentation.
Good evening. Craig and I are here tonight to talk to you about an update on the salt management practices at the city and how our teams have been working together to reduce our salt use while protecting the environment and public health and safety. Why does the city focus on salt? The city is required to focus on salt from a number of legislative perspectives. Environment Canada released a report stating that road salts are entering our environment and posing a risk to our plants, animals, and water. Once it's applied, it continues to move through the environment. It's very soluble and hard to remove. The Clean Water Act considers road salt and snow storage to be significant drinking water threats and requires us to put in place risk management plans with local businesses and ourselves to protect our water sources. The Lake Simcoe Protection Plan contains policies focused on improving water quality, and salt is used as an indicator of the lake and tributary health. Our minimum maintenance standards contain policies and the time clock for how municipalities are to respond to winter events. It notes how quickly we are to get out there, when to put a material down, and how quickly our sidewalks and streets are to be cleaned. As you can see, these legislations provide both aligned and conflicting directions to municipalities, calling for us to both use road salt and to reduce it to keep our community safe from different perspectives. To navigate the requirement and achieve legislative compliance, our teams work together to find innovative and cost-effective solutions to reduce the amount of salt released to the environment while maintaining safe surfaces for our pedestrians and vehicles. As a first step to working together, it's important to understand the scope of our problem. Specifically, what does it take to respond to our snow and freezing rain events in a growing city, and how salt can move through our ground and surface water sources. To give some context to our salt problem, on average, each winter, the city responds to 80+ winter events. We receive almost 3 meters of cumulative snowfall. We have freezing rain, freeze-thaw conditions, and our operations team is responsible for maintaining an ever-growing road and sidewalk network. In addition, we have parking lots and properties that also need to be maintained by other internal groups. Salt is also applied on private lands, and the Highway 400 runs through our city. Once salt is applied, it can move around in both our ground and surface water resources. The terrain or topography of our city can be thought of as a bowl. We have uplands and lowlands connected by creeks that drain water down towards Kempenfelt Bay. This results in 5 distinct weather patterns across the city, and we have sandy sediments that absorb snowmelts. We also have a stormwater network and ponds and culverts that move water around too. From another perspective, we're responsible for providing drinking water to our community through a network of deep underground wells and an intake in Kempenfelt Bay. We also have an area where our groundwater is impacted from road salts, leading to the mapping of what's called an issues contributing area, as shown by the yellow mapping on here. And in this area, we must take extra special care to protect our water resources.
Good evening. To comply with legislation and address the challenges of winter maintenance, the city has developed 3 guiding documents that work together to optimize the use of road salt. The salt optimization strategy was created under the Clean Water Act to comply with the Local Source Protection Plan. This document was a joint effort between the teams. This document is focused on optimizing our use of road salt to maintain safe surfaces while reducing the environmental impacts related to the storage, handling, and application of road salt. The Salt Management Plan and Winter Operations Plan are outcomes of the Environment Canada Report and provincial minimum maintenance standards. They incorporate the goals and measures of the salt optimization strategy. The Salt Management Plan is based on Environment Canada's Code of Practice for the environmental management of road salts. This plan outlines the city's overarching goals for managing salt use. It incorporates best practices and industry standards to guide responsible, cost-effective salt application. The plan sets clear objectives for improving operational efficiency and environmental performance, during winter events. The Winter Operations Plan is essentially a how-to guide of operational procedures. It provides detailed procedures for preparation and response, ensuring alignment with the goals set out in both the salt optimization strategy and the salt management plan. The plan includes operational procedures for various winter scenarios, enabling operators to apply the right treatment at the right time based on the road classification, weather forecasts, and real-time road condition information. As part of our winter maintenance planning, we have identified 4 key measures that have proven effective in reducing salt use. Number 1, implementation of a refined multi-tier road priority system that was established in 2022, or refined, I should say, in 2022. The city's winter maintenance service levels are guided by the provincial minimum maintenance standards. These standards define the permissible snow accumulation before action is required, and the timeframes for clearing and treating each class of road after a storm. Due to the impracticality of maintaining all roads simultaneously, a structured priority system ensures efficient resource deployment. We have different road classifications to help guide us for that. Priority routes are arterial and collector roads with high traffic volumes, bus routes, hills, or other features impacting vehicular traffic. These are maintained to bare pavement using plowing and de-icing. Secondary routes are high traffic roads, including remaining transit routes, school adjacent streets, and steep grades. These are maintained to bare pavement using plowing and de-icing. Residential routes found in subdivisions and maintained to a snowpack condition using plowing and sand salt mix for traction. Second factor is increased emphasis on mechanical snow and ice removal. Plowing is the most environmentally effective method for snow removal. It minimizes the need for salt. Delays in mechanical removal can increase salt usage by up to 4 times to achieve bare pavement. To support this, in the fall of 2018, the city reallocated existing staff to establish a dedicated winter night shift. This allows for quicker response times, preventing hard-packed snow and ice buildup, reducing contractor dependence, and improving our ability to manage salt application directly. Number 3, expanded use of road weather information systems. The city operates road weather information stations that monitor real-time conditions, including air, road, and dew point temperature, wind speed, and road surface salinity. The data is integrated with forecasts from the city's contracted weather service, which provides accurate Barrie-specific forecasts, including predictions of expected road surface conditions based on both weather patterns and current on-the-ground road data. In 2022, 2 additional road weather information stations were installed to cover all 5 of the city's distinct weather zones. This infrastructure allows staff to make timely, data-driven decisions, resulting in more efficient operations and optimized use of materials and staffing. Number 4, targeted spring street sweeping. To protect municipal water sources, spring street sweeping prioritizes roads located in vulnerable drinking water source areas. This effort helps reduce salt runoff and contributes to long-term water quality protection. So are the measures working? Yes, and the data clearly supports it. The success of the city's salt reduction strategies is demonstrated through our key performance indicator, average salt application rate per 2-lane kilometer per winter event. This metric allows for consistent comparison across varying winter conditions and accounts for the growth in the road network. The dark green bar, shown on the graph, represents the number of winter events. The light green bar is freezing rain events, and the solid blue line represents average application rate per single season. And as you can see, it's been trending downward. The dashed or dotted blue line shows the average salt application rate per 2 lane kilometers per winter event for the previous 5 years. The 5-year average measurement has been used to normalize the varying number of winter events and changing winter severity that can occur from one season to the next. So the key results are that over the past decade, the average salt application rate has steadily declined, as you can see from the dark blue line. And it's declined from 0.77 to 0.27 tons per 2 lane kilometer per event. In the 2023-2024 winter season, road operations reduced salt usage by 51% compared to the previous 5-year average. This reduction equates to approximately 6,100 tons of salt saved, resulting in $400,000 in cost avoidance based on the current salt pricing.
We also work with stakeholders to improve winter maintenance practices through the planning and development process and active operation of businesses. The local source protection plan sets the policy framework, and our official plan has adopted these concepts. New developments are designed to minimize salt pollution, and this is achieved through reductions in impervious surfaces, looking at covered and underground parking where appropriate. To complement our official plan, we have a policy in place to guide stormwater implementation. We also work with local businesses on risk management plans, and in the example on the screen, we can see that water is discharging out across the main entryway, and we're working with them to move it to the garden to remove those icy conditions. We also recognize that ongoing outreach, education, and collaboration is key to improving our winter maintenance practices. Private contractors are encouraged to participate in the Smart About Salt program through risk management plans. And city staff participate in a variety of working groups at the provincial and watershed level that are focused on addressing the competing needs of protecting our drinking water sources, environment, while maintaining our safe roads and parking lots. These working groups focus on the science of understanding the scope of the policies, strategies, and implementation. We routinely take this and build it back into our day-to-day operations.
Each year, winter maintenance operators attend snow school to stay up to date on the latest technologies, techniques, and best practices. Training emphasizes not only effective winter operations, but also the importance of their role in protecting the environment while maintaining safe road surfaces. Following major storms and at the end of each season, the city conducts post-storm reviews and seasonal debriefs. These sessions capture lessons learned and are a critical part of our continuous improvement efforts in both winter maintenance operations and salt optimization. In conclusion, waste management and environmental sustainability and operations remain committed to collaborative, team-based solutions that protect the environment. Our approach prioritizes public safety while ensuring that all initiatives are delivered in a fiscally responsible and environmentally sustainable manner. Thank you for your time, and we'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson and Mr. Morton. I'm just noting the time here. It is 6:59, so I'm going to ask members of the committee and members of council just to keep your questions and comments succinct if we can. I will open it up to members of the committee first. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Members that are not on committee, any question or comments? Seeing none, thank you. I think sometimes it's difficult to look at winter conditions when we finally have some nice warm weather here, but I do know that during the winter, this is always a hot topic in terms of the amount of salt that the city uses. So appreciate this update and providing us with the information this evening. Thank you. Okay, there is a memorandum actually listed under reports to committee associated with that presentation, so I will read that out now. The memorandum from Dave Ferrari, Director of Operations, and Steph Mack, Associate Director of Waste Management and Environmental Sustainability, dated May 14th, 2025, regarding a salt management uptake is to be received. That moves us into agenda item 4. There are no standing items. Agenda item 5, there is no deferred or referred items. So that takes us to reports of advisory committees. There are 4 advisory committee reports to be received. 6.1, report of the Arts and Advisory Committee dated April 29th, 2025 is received. 6.2, that the report of the Active Transportation and Sustainability Advisory Committee dated May 1st, 2025 is received. 6.3, that the report of the Youth Council Advisory Committee dated May 5th, 2025 is received. And finally, 6.4, that the report of the Communities in Bloom Committee dated May 6th, 2025 is received. Final item on the agenda is number 7, reports to committee. 7.1, that memo was dealt with under that presentation. So I will move to item 7.2, which is the cultural plan update. And I will ask a member of committee to put the item on the floor. Mayor Nuttall. And do you need to speak to that? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madam Chair. In terms of the culture plan, so we've put that on the floor at this point. I would like a little more feedback from staff. And the context I want to put around this is that we are fast forwarding the Performing Arts Center. It was scheduled somewhere in the 2030 to 2032, and I'm going on memory. The goal is that we get into the ground about 4 years earlier than that. And with that, I think there's going to be some considerable opportunities, but also there's going to be some funding that's moved forward. And I want to understand inside of the culture plan what effect that has or doesn't have. And I'd like one more look at it from the staff team before we go full speed ahead. As many of the conversations we had tonight about funding, and I'm trying to be cognizant of time, but folks have also come to hear this tonight, so I want to be respectful of that as well. In the context of the funding side, this is one area actually we're seeing a massive increase in funding. There was, by the previous council, $2.5 million a year set aside for the Performing Arts Center. We're going to have at some point the budget direction that'll go from myself to council to staff. And in that, there'll be the additional $3 million from the sale of property on Dean Avenue beside the library put into that same Performing Arts Center fund. And there's a couple of other capital projects that we've identified that may not need to happen or will need to be perhaps changed and included inside of that Performing Arts Center fund due to their location and what had previously been identified down at the Spearcatcher Park and area. And so there's a lot happening on the funding side for me. As we're moving forward over the next 6 months, we're going to have to choose to go ahead with what will likely be continuing with the same architect. We're going to have to put timelines on when the construction begins, and we're going to have to go to the provincial and federal governments and ask for funding to look at a matching formula like we had in previous builds. So all of that happening, that's but one piece of a much larger plan, but I think we can all agree it's the largest piece of that plan right now, that in terms of the immediate. And so I would ask that we refer this back to Economic and Creative Development Department to review all of the recommendations in the culture plan update, considering the context of what is imminent in terms of an operational plan for the Performing Arts Center. And I'll leave that on the floor.
Okay. Referred items cannot be. We can? No. So that is the end of that conversation. So the culture plan update report will be referred back to staff in Economic and Creative Development Department to review the recommendations in context of a future operational plan for the Performing Arts Center. Okay, so I will move us into 7.3, which is the public. Oh, sorry, we have to vote on that. All those in favor of referral, and it passes. Now I will move us on to 7.3, the public arts strategy. And do I need to read out the entire motion? No. It is in front of us. We can have a read there. I do need a member of committee to put it on the floor, please. Councillor Riepma, and can you speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'll put it on the floor as printed. I see that we have an amendment, and I'll leave it to whoever wants to do that amendment. I guess that's the mayor. So, Mayor Nuttall, over to you.
I'm the designated hitter tonight. So the amendment that I'd have is that we remove recommendation 3B is deleted, and then a new paragraph 5 be added as follows: that staff in the Economic and Creative Development Department complete a feasibility revenue tool assessment to identify revenue and sustainable funding opportunities to be included as part of the strategy and report back to General Committee in fall of 2025. And that is the new paragraph. The old portion was stated complete feasibility revenue tool assessment to identify revenue opportunities to build sustainable funding capacity for public art via the mechanisms identified in the public art strategy and develop a model to be presented to General Committee. And I'll speak to that quickly. So one of the commitments that I made and we made as a council was to look at more sustainable funding for the arts inside of the city. And I think it was the first Arts Awards that we talked about that. We talked about getting a Performing Arts Centre actually moving ahead of schedule. We're doing that and getting more dollars built into, really the either grant and or operations of different arts in the city. And so we've done some of that. There was the request that came from Councillor Harris for the McLaren Arts Centre, which increased, I think it was about $25K a year. And then the other piece that I think that we're seeing here before us has been, I think, looked at from the context of the arts community as a whole. When I started looking and speaking with Stephanie about what the proposals are, there's two numbers that kind of come to mind to me that we need to take these recommendations in the context of. The first number is what is the increase in funding operationally for the city on an annual basis? The second piece is what are the increases on a capital funding basis? Because if it's a more permanent structure, I think that we can look at it from a capital side. If it's a temporary, perhaps seasonal, it would be operating. And the other piece, what is that in the context of our overall capital plan? We had an update here tonight talking about all of the good things that are happening, how, we saw a lot of green squares in terms of being in line with where we want to be on our asset management. That used to be all red and orange, so it's good to see it moving in the right direction. What is our total capital plan over the next number of years, and therefore what percentage of that can we actually look at putting into things like public art? And so for me, I am probably comfortable at this point to say that we need to have an increase, and I'm comfortable to say that it's going to be in the tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. What I'm not comfortable with yet is getting the capital plan forecast, getting the operating budget forecast and the capital forecast in terms of our revenue coming in, and then being able to take those three numbers, put in the context of the arts requests, the public art requests, and then defining the number. And I am not ready to therefore approve the principles until I've fully, and this is just, I'm just one voice on the committee, but until I've fully formed that out, because I don't like, and we've all talked about this, we don't like setting expectations in a study or in a strategic plan that then go and sit on a shelf. They never actually happen. Whatever we're going to commit and deliver, we need to actually commit and deliver. Otherwise, it's a dream and not an active thing that happens. So I'm asking that we take till the fall to fully form that out, and then come back with a real commitment that's going to happen annually, and actually increase the funding we're putting into these areas.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments in relation to the amendment as proposed? Councillor Morales.
Very quickly, through you, Chair Hamilton, to the mayor. So what's the amendment specifically? You spoke to more of the bigger motivation and implementation. The wording was very similar. So if anyone else is confused like I am, I just wanted to make sure what the amendment specifically achieved.
It's the report back to General Committee in the fall of 25.
Okay, so the approach to the investigation of sustainability, you're not changing, your intent is not to change that as much as to change the reporting committee.
No, it's twofold. One is to decipher what is sustainable. And in order to do that, we need to do that in the context of what is sustainable for the city's finances as well as what's sustainable for arts finances. And the second piece is to report back this fall.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Rietman.
Just a very quick comment. I'm supportive of the amendment and the motion in as it stands. However, what I would really like to see, and I want to spend a little more time thinking about it between now and General Committee, is alternative 2 in the report. It seems that we're kind of postponing doing anything this year, and alternative 2 brings sort of next year's things forward by a year. And that would be my preference. And it's not a lot of money, but it's, I think, something that's important to think about. So I'll support it as it stands now, but I want to do a little more thinking about it.
Sorry. Any final questions or comments before we move to the vote? Seeing none, so we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment as proposed, adding new paragraph 5 to be added as follows: that staff and economic and creative development complete a feasibility revenue tool assessment to identify revenue and sustainable funding opportunities to be included as part of the strategy and report back to General Committee in fall of 2025. All those in favor? Opposed, and it passes. And now we'll vote on the main motion as printed. Again, all those in favor? Sorry, do we have any questions or comments on the main motion?
Thanks, Chair Hamilton. More of a comment. We have a lot of people out here in the audience, and Stephanie and Miss Ryan and Amanda, name. Yeah, I apologize. There's a ton of work that's went into this and looked at all ways and, trying to elevate our public art. And there's a lot of good things in this. So I just don't want people to take away that nothing is being done. We're actually not just setting a number where it's minimal, actually, in the world of art, where hopefully we can find funding in sustainable ways to increasing the art funding, where it actually elevates the exposure of our public art and stuff, and we look at Seeds to Sow. It was the next level of public art. So I want to appreciate the work that's went into this report, and hopefully we can find a way to increase the funding, but also, keeping in mind the finances of the city. So, thanks.
Thank you for that. I think it was important to say. Actually, I was a bit remiss in acknowledging the work that went into that, given the people that are here tonight. I will say there's been lots of dialogue on this piece, so I hope everyone is aware of that. But I will, again, ask any final questions or comments on the main motion. Councillor Morales.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Very quickly, it's not as large as obviously a performing arts center and a greater strategy, but the traffic cabinet program that's in section 3A, I just want to bring attention to it. It's really important. It's, in my opinion, it's been, and the feedback I've gotten, it's been successful where you wrap the cabinets. And very interestingly, to the youth council that Councillor Harris chairs, we've heard ongoing, but we specifically heard at the last meeting from the youth members, and they all concurred. They said, Barrie seems to be dirtier than it was. For context purposes, these people are 14 to 19, 18. I think we have a 19-year-old. So their timeline is a little bit different than ours, and they've noticed that. They were talking about garbage, they were talking about people putting out mattresses, stuff like that, and graffiti as well. So this might seem like a small thing in the relation to let's become a leader in performing arts, but it's taking care of the bread and butter. And when I saw how successful this program has been, and kudos to the entire cultural department and Ms. Schlichter's leadership on this, I couldn't find a way to fund this enough. So I just want to bring attention to it for those of you that have locations. Great. Hopefully we can get more locations. Hopefully we can find a way to wrap locations that may not need to be replaced. But it's working really well, and it's those things that matter, and we're actually hearing it from our youth as well.
Great comments, thank you. All right, any final questions or comments? Okay, we will vote on the main motion as printed then. All those in favor? Opposed? And it passes. Okay, that brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. There's no items for discussion, so we will adjourn the meeting at 7:16. We will stay here and move right into council. I think we just need a couple of minutes, 5 minutes to do so. Thank you, everyone.